the name of this review for a reason, and that is, out of all Quentin Tarantino's movies, this is the one I hear people talking about the least. Which is interesting because I, I think after I watch this, this may be the one that I have the most to say about, especially with its depiction of evil. And don't get me wrong, this has what I found to be the most chilling depiction of pure evil I have ever seen in a movie. Not only that, but it also ha- it also has a it also has it also has the odd thing of making me feel like everyone in the movie was evil to some degree, and that's not new for a Tarantino film, except that this time the movie the movie seems to want us to forget, or it's at least tempting us to forget, that even our lead is is do is doing and has done evil things, and in the end sets up people to be murdered. She may not pull the trigger, but she definitely but and but she definitely walked into situations with her eyes wide open, and then did everything she could to save herself while also enriching herself. This isn't just some the movie plays it, and she gives the story that she's just trying to survive, but the fact is that she is that she has chances for survival that would have been a lot safer, but she takes more dangerous paths throughout this film, and it just to enrich herself. And really, our quote unquote hero doesn't seem to care who gets hurt, because as long as she gets the money that she wants. Which, does that make her any different than the villain of the piece? Not, I don't really think so in my book, and that makes for a very interesting heist movie. Normally, when you watch a heist movie, well, yes, technically the people conducting the heist are villains. They're either they're either stealing from somebody who's so much worse than they are that 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 you root for them, and they sometimes and many times, such as in the Lupin the Third movies, or things like Ocean's 11, they have some sort of altruistic motive of wanting to get money, that wanting to get ill-gotten gains away from somebody who the law can't touch. But that isn't the case in this movie. And yes, it stars Pam Grier, and it has some of the trappings of blaxploitation. I agree with Tarantino. This isn't a blaxploitation film. This is a heist film through and through. Everything about this is a heist film, and you have to pay attention because things are constantly changing, and things are constantly shifting. People's loyalties are shifting. There's a whole there's a whole situation going on, but there are two things that but the and yes, it's worth watching for Tarantino's dialogue, his out of sequence storytelling, but it's more in sequence here than I think in most of his other movies. However, when it does go out of sequence, it does it for a reason, so that you get information that you didn't have before. And every member of the cast is strong, including Michael Keaton as an FBI agent who, I don't know who decided, but he could have been a very nondescript character, but something about the way that he plays the part, and he's like walking around with, and he's like coming into work with a motorcycle helmet and jacket on, which is not something you expect from a professional FBI agent. You know, a job where they're usually required in order to keep their job to wear to wear a two-piece suit and a tie with a tie. You know, it's that's that's an so yeah, and and the characters and dialogue have so many layers on them, and this keeps you glued to your seat. But I think it goes without. I think that goes without saying for a Tarantino movie. So I'd rather spend the time talking about what I found to be in this movie the two most chilling depictions of pure evil I've ever seen in movies, and one of them is right out, and one of them is played as the triumphant final of a movie, and the other one is mostly played for laughs, but then, and it's, but I think in both cases, it says something. Tarantino wants you to have that initial reaction, only to think about it later. At least that's what I got from it, and I think that says something about his skill as a writer and director. The first moment comes when Robert De Niro's character just cold-bloodedly shoots Bridget Fonda's character just because she finds it funny that after they think they've gotten you know, away with this heist and gotten away with $500,000, he then can't find their car. Which, yeah, it's hard not to remark. It's hard not to remark that that would be funny because yeah, you can't find your car while you after you smuggle $500,000 of ill-gotten gains into the United States. That is kind of funny. He cold-bloodedly shoots her, and then he has one of the most chilling conversations ever with Samuel L. Jackson's character. When he asks where Bridget Fonda is, he said, well, you know, she was yammering at me, it was getting annoying, so I shot her. He just says it casually like that. And at first, Samuel L. Jackson does have a reaction to this, but he asks, what, you couldn't talk to her? And he's like, and it is a very funny scene, because the delivery of the lines and the way that they're written is like, you know, it doesn't sound like they're talking about murdering a person. It sounds like, because he goes, yeah, well, who can talk to, you know her, who can talk to her when she's like that? He says, well, you couldn't have hit her? And then De Niro's character thinks about it and goes, I didn't think of that at the time. You know, he says something along those, he's like, you know, and it's like, but then they instantly just forget about it and start thinking about the implications, and then these two old friends end up shooting, and then after a while, and it's not over the murder, it's over losing the money, Samuel L. Jackson just cold-bloodedly shoots De Niro. It's just it's just a cold-blooded thing, and then it's just so cold-blooded. At the first time you see it, you're gonna laugh, but then you start thinking about what you just saw, and it becomes horrifying that any human beings could act this way. You then get to you then see the next point, which is, then you get to the end of the movie where, yes, he is a horrible person, yes, she was put between him and the FBI, but Jackie Brown does cold-bloodedly set up a situation to get Samuel L. Jackson murdered. Yeah, he wants to murder her, so it is more justified, but again, but then everybody in the scene, from the FBI agents to Jackie to everyone, you see the scene from the point of view of Samuel L. Jackson's character's dying breaths as he's lying on the floor after being fatally shot. And there's not one look of sympathy or regret or remorse. And in a way, he sort of did this to himself, but also the fact that a person who doesn't come from a background of violence, but who comes from a background of just smuggling drugs and money, could just so quickly turn this, I think really says something about human nature and the fact that no one thinks that rethinks their position, and everyone in this movie, the FBI agents are just in it to get a promotion. Jackie is just in it for the money. Her parole officer is in it because he kind of likes her, but also for the money. Nobody has any motives other than getting what they can while they can. Nobody shows any sort of human feeling for anyone else. Nobody reacts with sympathy towards the drugged up, beach bum girl who was found dead, who was found brutally shot in the stomach twice in a parking lot. Nobody has any sympathy for anyone. Nobody treats anyone with anything close to human dignity. And I think this movie, more than any other, explores what the Bible said, that the love of money is the root of all evil. If you decide that money is the most important thing in your life, it will degrade your soul and take you from somebody who just wants to get by to somebody who can just look down coldly at somebody who's just lying there dying and not even care that you helped bring about that, and you just saw this person get shot. And I just found this movie to be one of the most chilling films I have ever seen, for that reason, that everyone is so cold to this point. Usually in these Tarantino movies, and I have seen this movie before, I used to have it on a 2-disc DVD. I used to have the 2-disc DVD back in the day, but, long story, it was stolen. It got stolen. Somebody broke into my place and stole a bunch of my stuff, including a ton of my movies that I never saw again. So I haven't seen this movie in probably about, I'm gonna say 14, maybe even 16 years. And so I felt very much like I was seeing it for the first time. And I just found this to be so shocked. I mean, there are characters who really do care about each other or something. There's usually something, but that I'm curious. And I'm not saying that this is a bad movie because of this. I'm just saying that it's an interesting exploration of the nature of evil and what the love of money does to you. And I find it interesting that this isn't talked about more. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you want to see a sort of heist movie that also seems to have something to say about human nature and what unredeemed people are like, with only their self-interest and their need for money holding them together, this is a great film to watch. Well, anyway, I don't know. I hope you found that take interesting and different enough to make it worth listening to. Thanks for listening, and